Commander Yannick reporting for Chelsea News. Welcome back to Football Therapy, ladies and gentlemen, with me, your host, Jan. Hope you're doing well, friend. I really do hope that. And yes, welcome back to Chelsea News here in the Stamford Bridge studio with the military beret. Is it on properly? I don't even know. Today we're discussing transfer-related things and also manager Graham Potter firing back at the doubters, talking about his position and the ownership. We'll talk about Mudryk as well, stuff like that. What's going on with Chelsea? And maybe we'll just talk about what we need moving forwards. Hey, what a good performance against Man City in the Cup tomorrow would do. How much good that would do, rather. You know, get the kids in. Feel good stuff, you know? Start again. Wash it all away. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for dropping a like and subscribing should you choose to do so. You should hit that sweet, sweet bell, baby. I'm messing up here. Where's the tray? Okay. All right then. So, ladies and gentlemen, we are reading an article first from the Mail Online. Sorry about that. And then we're jumping over to the Evening Standard. But first off, we'll start by this article from Simon Jones talking about Chelsea's transfer situation. Listen, friends. Chelsea seek reassurances that Mudryk wants to join them before going toe-to-toe with Arsenal. But Blues have also approached Leipzig's Dani Olmo. It's a bit underwhelming, isn't it? And France forward Marcus Thuram, which is probably a little bit more exciting, kind of. He's already 25. Anyway, Chelsea want reassurances that Mudryk wishes to join them before entering an auction with Arsenal for the Shakhtar Donetsk winger. Sportsmail reported on Friday that the Ukrainian would prefer a move to the Emirates if it came down to a two-way choice between the London rivals. The Gunners have been linked with Mudryk for some time, and the initial bids of 52 million and then 62 million were rejected earlier this week, with Shakhtar valuing their 22-year-old superstar around 88 million pounds. It's like 90 million pounds. Like, what even is transfer fees anymore? Like, who's worth what? You know, and what league are they playing in to be like 90 million? Playing in, like, you know, for Shakhtar, 80, I just don't know anymore. Do you know what I mean? But now it seems Chelsea want to know if he wishes to join the club before they actually engage in a bidding war. Yeah, absolutely. Look, do you want to join us? Because if you don't, what are we even doing here? Do you know what I mean? Chelsea, who have completed the signing of midfielder Andres Santos from Vasco da Gama on Friday, have also asked about Spain's RB Leipzig winger Dani Olmo. He's always sort of been thereabouts, Dani Olmo, isn't he? But he doesn't seem like the answer. He certainly doesn't seem like the answer. And Borussia Mönchengladbach striker and France forward Marcus Thuram. Arsenal, meanwhile, are reluctant to pay over the odds, but believe they are the 22-year-old's preference, as do I. There was optimism for their improved bid for 62 million could be accepted, but there is now concern that Chelsea could come and hijack the deal, gazumping them for Mudryk, I believe the term is, especially considering Graham Potter's mounting injury list with Sterling, Mount, Pulisic, now all concerns, and even like Ziyech looks pretty cooked, didn't he? Mudryk, meanwhile, who joined Shakhtar in 2018, has 12 goals and 17 assists in 44 games, which is good, but is it 90 million pounds in that league? Like, clearly people know more than I do about football because it just seems kind of silly. So obviously he's been twerking for Arsenal. It references it here in the article where he put two top coaches with Mikel Arteta and Roberto De Zerbi. That game when Arsenal played Brighton. He's been liking all sorts of social media stuff linking him to the Arsenal. So it does seem like he would prefer that. But maybe he just wants to go now while the iron's hot, and he might think, look, if I can't join Arsenal, I'll join Chelsea. And maybe, and this is a big maybe, he was only twerking for Arsenal because, you know, the big team that won him in the Premier League. And maybe he hasn't grown up an Arsenal fan. He just sees an opportunity, so he's been twerking. Whereas, could have been the other way around, with Chelsea showing initial interest. Maybe he would have done the same to Chelsea. I don't know. But Arsenal are, of course, top of the league. But Chelsea have a very compelling project. Yes, it's hard to see past that from the 10th place position in the Premier League, but Chelsea do have a very compelling project in terms of this sort of team they're building for tomorrow. While it's still unclear whether he'll join either side, Chelsea have been busy in the last week. We've, of course, completed the signing of Badiashile from Monaco and the Ivorian striker Datro Fofana, as well as the aforementioned Andres Santos. Now, personally, I'm not overly excited about the prospect of signing Dani Olmo. Maybe some of you guys are, but not me. The only Leipzig forward I want is Christopher Nkunku. I had to try and say it right. Who, of course, is joining Chelsea, so that's good. But, I don't know, man. Maybe Marcus Thuram, 25-year-old Borussia Mönchengladbach striker. He's got a few goals this season. Never really set the world alight massively, of course. Was good for France in the World Cup. Scoring against England, he certainly scored a couple of big goals off the bench, and it looks like a good centre forward. Is he the answer? A 25-year-old playing for a mid-tier European side probably cost a lot of money. I just don't feel like this is it doesn't feel like the answer. I swear like Michy Batshuayi when we bought him from where did we buy him from? Monaco or? He was playing for Bielsa as well, wasn't he? A French side. I forget which French side. It wasn't Nice. It wasn't Lille. Maybe it was Monaco. Oh, Marseille. We bought him from Marseille, Michy Batshuayi, and he had a lot of goals when we bought him. And he was gonna be the backup for Diego Costa, maybe challenge Diego Costa. It feels like he was a higher profile signing. I think he cost us £30 million, and he'd scored a lot of goals in Liga, and he was a good finisher. Turns out he wasn't great at training or retaining tactical information, and that's why it never worked for Chelsea. At Michy Batshuayi at Chelsea, even though he actually did have a great finishing on both feet as well. So I don't know, man. I mean, yes, I get it, we need a striker, but do we sign Marcus Thuram, on a 5-year deal as this 25-year-old on 200k a week or whatever it would take to bring him? I just don't know. Breuer will come back, and I feel like if we are going to get a striker, either give like Datro Fofana, go really cheap or go really big. I feel like these middle of the road, signings are just going to be able to end up wasting money and not really, and maybe not, maybe it'd be great, but I'm a Chelsea fan and I've been stung far too many times with strikers, so I just don't know anymore. Let's move on. Oh! Right, well, do let me know what you think about the signings and the transfer window. Of course, we are covering that really, really closely. So, like always, I remind you guys to turn on the bell when you subscribe. So we're jumping over now to the article written by a chap called Jonathan Gordy. Should have gotten to the horror scene with a name like that. On the Evening Standard. So not Nizar Kinsella. I thought he was the Chelsea correspondent. But yeah, it's referencing what Graham Potter has been saying, I guess in an embargoed press talk thing. But Graham Potter has insisted he does not fear for his job at Chelsea. The Blues have won just... The Blues have just won just 2 of their last 10 Premier League. I can't even say it. The Blues have won just 2 of their last 10 Premier League games. Yeah. It doesn't get any better the more you say it. Most recently falling 1-0 to Manchester City at Stamford Bridge. Though, the performance was better. And I can also talk about, when we could talk about Dennis Zakaria. I put a tweet poll on Twitter. I think 85% said buy him. I think it'll be like 25 million pounds, which is cheap, and he's 25 years old. If he stays fit, then you keep him and buy another good midfielder maybe. But I don't know if he'll stay fit. I don't know if he'll keep the performances up like that. But for that money, it looks like it could be great. But do you end up only buying Dennis Zakaria and you sort of skip out on a Declan Rice and he becomes injured, his form drops again, and then you were just sort of sold a lie with him? I don't know. Anyway, feel free to talk about Zakaria down in the comments section. So speculation about Potter's longevity at the club has run more rampant in recent days, but the Blues boss insisted he did not need validation from anyone outside the confines of his club. He says this, quote, "The owners are billionaires, so they're quite smart." I'd probably agree with them. Smarter than me, that's for sure. So they understand the challenges that we have and the direction we want to go in. I've been here for 4 months, and 5-6 weeks of that have been lost to international football. Well, I think Pep Guardiola was at Manchester City for a year before they'd won anything, and obviously Mikel Arteta, people are right now deciding to forget that Mikel Arteta had consecutive 8th place finishes. 8th! Imagine if Potter finished 8th this season, which could definitely happen, and then finished 8th next season and still was given time. I mean, that won't happen for Potter. I mean, we're still Chelsea, but context is required. So, yeah, obviously Mikel Arteta and Jurgen Klopp took a bit of time. But obviously, it's maybe different for me for some reason. Maybe because the thing is, we did well in cup competitions and we won the Champions League with talented players, but the ones, declining in form and in age and in functionality, these players. Fantastic win by Thomas Tuchel, but ultimately papered over the cracks. So that's why I think it's a really confusing one to analyse. I don't put a time scale on it. I know the responsibility we have here, he says. He goes on to say, but also I know that I am capable. Chelsea. And I know the quality that I have, and I have the full support of certainly the owners, the players, and the staff here. Oh, that's good. The players still support him, that's important. And you can see by the support we had against City, it was fantastic. So there will always be people that doubt. There's nothing you can do. But certainly, I'm not here to convince anybody. I'm here to do my work. And then if that convinces, then that's fine. Indeed. So Chelsea go head-to-head with City again on Sunday. Raheem Sterling and Christian Pulisic were both forced off the pitch on Thursday, adding to an injury nightmare. Summarised by Potter with him saying, I've never experienced anything like that. The pair is still being assessed. It's added to a growing list, which include Kante, Reece James, Wesley Fofana, Mason Mount, Ben Chilwell, Armando Broja, Ruben Loftus-Cheek, and Edouard Mendy, plus Pulisic, plus Sterling. It's like a starting 11 of a top 4 team if you get those people back. Excuse me, which is just absolutely wild. The Blues boss argued the fitness crisis alongside to the start of the season that paused for 2 postponements and the World Cup did not seem like a particularly fair fragment of history on which to judge his early era on Stamford Bridge, which is true. You can say it's an excuse, but it's been wild. It's been mental. He said, I don't read the newspapers, I stay away from social media. Smart, mate. I have no idea what they're saying. I've had some support. I'm not naive to know that when you've had these results that there's not going to be criticism and negativity. There's plenty of that, I'm afraid, Graham. There is. That would be strange for me to think that. And again, I'm not sitting here as some egomaniac that has all the answers and gets everything right. Of course that's not the case. But like I said, at the same time, there's some challenges that we face. There's some margins in the Premier League that are difficult. We've had a massive transition. Problems in terms of injuries don't make it easy to be stable, but it's sort of blah, 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 isn't it? People want results, and shut up, Graham, what are you talking about? That's actually his quote, that's not me saying that. And shut up, Graham, what are you talking about? We need to win. End quote. Love that. I actually really like that from Graham Potter. He's saying, look, this is screwed up. This is a profound, historical, peculiar run of injuries. First teamers, like I said, our injury 11 is better than our normal starting 11 at the moment. Like, hands down, oddly. Like, legitimately, it's... and that is wild. But he's saying, look, yeah. But like, it's not just that. It's like you said, the World Cup. It's the international breaks. It's the ownership change. It's everything, man. It is tricky. I mean, if we start to see identity and development from here, then it's good. But regardless of the difficult climate and everything saying true, he's still a good coach and we've still got good players and he still has the capacity to do well and he has the opportunity and to a degree an obligation to do well from here. So let's see if he can do that. I do like those quotes from him. I think you needed something a little bit feisty from him because he can be supporting. Right. Thank you for joining me, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for dropping a like on the video and subscribing, etc., etc. Keep it locked, turn the bell on because it's, transfer season and things are popping off. Love you lots. Goodbye.